Welcome to the Gaggle, where we talk politics inside of Arizona and beyond. This week, will Congress actually take up immigration reform? And is Arizona being used as a guinea pig for corporate types? But first, Dustin, you have been reporting on rampant fraud involving at least one state lawmaker who is now being challenged, maybe thrown off the ballot, and there may be a possibility that another candidate gathered fraudulent signatures. What is up with all these fake petitions?
Yeah, so this came up in the LD 28 Senate race. Mark Sims, a prominent doctor, the husband of State Rep Maria Sims, is running as an independent against Kate Brophy-McGee in that Senate race. We started hearing rumblings last week that there were some pretty questionable patterns in the signatures, so we looked into it and we started calling voters, and right away almost everyone we were calling was saying, I didn't sign this. One couple said they were out of the country, they were vacationing in Scotland. You know, another couple was Democrats that signed for Christine Marsh, the Democrat in that Senate race. So there seems to be pretty serious accusations here, and now Brophy-McGee's husband has filed a lawsuit challenging Sims's position on the ballot.
Game of Thrones-ish, if you ask me. Another kind of game happening in Congress. Daniel, will we see a vote on immigration reform before the midterms?
Really, it's completely up in the air at this point. At the core here is the issue of the Dreamers. Those are the undocumented immigrants, young undocumented immigrants who came here as kids. The Congress has been trying to sort out some kind of solution for them. It's been stalled for months. President Trump, this all started when President Trump ended the DACA program that allowed them to live and work here legally. Both houses, chambers of Congress have been trying to sort out an issue. Right now, the issue is in the House. Today, we're going to find out whether conservatives and moderates can come up with some kind of solution that would deal with the Dreamers and as well as some other immigration reform issues. Or is it going to go to what's called a discharge petition? There are a bunch of moderate Republicans in the House who are trying to force GOP leadership's hand on this. If they don't strike a deal today, look for Republicans to get the final 3 signatures they need to get this discharge petition, and that would happen, if it goes through, it would happen on June 25th, and it would force 4 different bills to come forward on that day, and they'd have to vote on them that day. The one that gets the most votes passes. So it's bubbling up again as an issue. It's really uncertain. We'll know better by the end of the day what's going to happen. If I were to make a call, I would say it's probably not going to happen, but we'll see what happens.
All right, well, we'll keep watching your reporting. Rachel, you wrote about a book that was recently released by a Wall Street Journal reporter who has been investigating Theranos, the blood testing company. What were his big takeaways about the environment that Arizona has allowed, I guess, for these types of companies under the tenure of Governor Doug Ducey?
He said that Theranos basically treated Arizonans like guinea pigs with a unproven, largely untested, really, technology that led to a lot of faulty results. So he documented a lot of Arizonans who they took blood tests that showed wildly inaccurate results, and then they ended up in the emergency room doing a litany of tests for, a huge amount of money just to try to negate these false results that Theranos gave them. And what the author of that book said was, Arizonans are part of this big medical experiment that's being run on them, and they're not even really aware. He also tied it back to the self-driving Uber incident where a woman was killed recently, and said state leaders here need to be more cognizant of, they're trying to be the next Silicon Valley, and they're not really keeping in mind people's safety. So he really cautioned that leaders need to take a more active role in making sure that we're not doing all sorts of things just to court tech companies.
Yeah, those are 2 good examples. We don't even know what happened to Lucid, which the governor rolled out but a couple Decembers ago. Could this be politically harmful for him heading into the primary?
I think it's one of the secondary issues. The first issue probably still is education, but it does seem like his opponents will bring up these high-profile incidents with the tech companies that haven't really kept in mind consumer safety.
All right, well, Daniel, do you have any tea to spill?
Well, I guess if you haven't heard yet, the Attorney General Sessions has taken domestic violence and gang violence off the table for consideration of asylum claims. We're experiencing this kind of wave of families from Central America arriving at the southern border. Most of them are coming because they're fleeing this horrific gang violence in Central America and also fleeing domestic violence. That has been in the past been allowed for grounds for asylum, and he's directing immigration judges to reject that. So we'll see if that's challenged in the courts.
Dustin.
Related to this whole issue of forgery in the LD28 race, Mark Sims' campaign is saying that they paid Larry Herrera to collect those signatures. Just a little bit of tea on that. Larry Herrera was a Democrat who was running for the legislature earlier this year. He dropped out after it was found that some forms he submitted to the Clean Elections Commission contained the signatures of dead voters, other issues with potentially forged signatures with that. So it now turns out Clean Elections is asking the AG to investigate that more, so we'll see if anything more comes of that.
All right, Rachel.
I have heard that Tom Steyer's campaign to get young people to vote, he's a California billionaire, spending $3 million to get young people to vote here in Arizona, and they're really starting to ramp up. They're doing pool parties and petting zoos and other sorts of fun things aimed at people from like 18 to 30 to try to get them to the polls, which could really turn the electorate here. So we'll see how that all goes.
And in the legislative races, I'm told to watch for a very high-profile Republican who likely will be stepping out of the political scene here in coming days. It probably will rock the political world a little bit. Until next week, thank you for watching.